So friends, we continue to follow the events on the front lines of Ukraine and Russia as well as in news. And today there is both good and bad news. It is reported that the occupiers have launched an offensive and they have gathered around 900 tanks in just one direction. But let's start with the good news. Yesterday's strike on the Crimean Bridge was quite successful. The Russian minister stated that one section of the bridge was destroyed and cannot be restored, resulting in huge traffic jams on the road to Melitopol. It is reported that there are long queues of cars on the Crimean Bridge from both sides after the reversible traffic was opened during the night. From the Taman side, there are approximately 400 cars in the queue, and from the Kerch side, there are 220. During the night, the traffic on Crimean Bridge was partially restored with the rightmost lane of the Taman-Kerch direction. The Center of National Resistance reports that Russia is forcing students from the occupied part of the Zaporizhia region to help drivers stuck in traffic on the way to Crimea. But before we begin the frontline review, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to stay updated on all the latest news. And let's move on to the situation on the front line. And here I want to start with the Kupiansk direction, where the occupiers have managed to make some advances. It is reported that the occupiers have gathered about 100,000 personnel and over 900 tanks in this direction over a long period. And as we can see, the Russians have their cunning plan and unfortunately they have a much larger number of tanks for their offensive actions, although they are old. However, we see that the large amount of equipment and manpower doesn't save them. And in the Svatovo area, the offensive actions of the Russians have been suspended. Currently, only shelling is taking place and the front line remains unchanged. In the Dvorichna area, attacks have started. At Masyutivka, it is clear that the occupiers are trying to move towards Kupiansk and regain previously lost positions during the first counter-offensive. However, in the past 24 hours, the front line remains unchanged and the defense is being maintained. In the Siversk direction, the occupiers are changing the direction of attacks daily, attempting to break through to the village of Vesele. However, all the attacks from any direction are repelled by the Ukrainian armed forces, and the front line remains unchanged. There is also a significant number of shelling that continues. The situation is complex in the Bakhmut direction. The occupiers are heavily assaulting this area, receiving reinforcements and conducting shelling and offensive actions in 4 directions near Kurdyumivka. After receiving reports of successful progress from the front, the occupiers are trying to reclaim lost positions. And battles are also taking place near Ivanivsky, Grigorivka and Orikhovo-Vasilievka. In the Avdiivka direction, the occupiers have calmed down a bit. The Ukrainian armed forces have successfully destroyed a large number of Russian groups that were advancing. Therefore, today they are only shelling activities without offensive actions. And attacks are only recorded in Mariinka, but the situation is under control of the Ukrainian armed forces and the front line remains unchanged. In the Vuhledar direction, the Ukrainian armed forces are trying to hold the outskirts of Staromayorsk, but the occupiers are intensifying their efforts in this direction and conducting counterattacks to push back the Ukrainian forces. So far, the front line remains unchanged, and this indicates that the Ukrainian armed forces have managed to consolidate their positions, and the battles are ongoing, and we await further updates on this. Similarly, the occupiers are launching attacks in the direction of Velika Novosilka, targeting all liberated settlements and leveling them to the ground. And in the Kherson direction, there is relatively calm, with no reported new offensive actions, only shelling along the entire front line. And during the night of July 18th, Russia launched 6-caliber cruise missiles and 36 Shahed attacks drones from the southern direction. The launches of caliber missiles were likely carried out from the Russian frigate Admiral Essen, while the Shahed drones were launched from the Chauda range area in Crimea. The Ukrainian Air Force successfully destroyed 6-caliber missiles and 31 enemy attacks drone Shahed, and 1 reconnaissance unmanned aerial vehicle. The cruise missiles and the majority of kamikaze drones were destroyed in the south in the Odessa and Mykolaiv regions, while the remaining attacks unmanned aerial vehicles were hit in the Donetsk, Kharkiv and Dnipropetrovsk regions. And according to some sources, there is also information that a Su-25 attack aircraft crashed in the Krasnodar Krai. Later, it was reported that the pilot died, as it was a case of drowning. The man was being rescued in an ambulance after being pulled out of the water, but unfortunately he couldn't be saved. And additionally, on July 18th, the European Court of Human Rights announced its decision in the case Russia versus Ukraine, which arose from the application filed by the Russian government on July 22, 2021, with 10 groups of accusations against Ukraine. The decision notes that Russia ignored several requests from the court and didn't participate in the proceeding since it ceased to be a member of the Council of Europe. In April 2022, Russia provided over 2,000 sets of documentations to support its application, but subsequently ceased communication with Strasbourg, including ignoring the court's request for translation of documents in May and not responding to a letter sent in November regarding Russia's continued interest in the examination of its application. Due to the constant lack of response, the court decided that the Russian authorities are no longer interested in continuing the examination of the application. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.